What's up, humanities? Okay, Mr. Chaluki here, recording my final message for our World Religion Unit. Coming up on the horizon, we're going to get into a lot of other random topics that will not be religion related. Reminder for you, please make sure you do get that Eastern religion piece of artwork completed and submitted, ideally by Sunday night, but shoot me an email if you have to submit it early next week. Okay, so kind of my final thoughts and stuff after we've hit Western religions and Eastern religions, which both have a very different kind of flavor to them. Remember, again, my take, as I said at the beginning of the unit, I'm an agnostic. And an agnostic essentially doesn't know what to believe, right? It's like, I don't think the existence of God can be proven or disproven. So you're kind of a fence sitter. So also, please remember the questions that I'm going to pose on this video and the commentary I'm giving. I'm not trying to win anybody over. As an agnostic, I don't get any brownie points or awards in the afterlife or anything like that from my mindset to convert you over and win you over to being an agnostic like me. Honestly, I don't care if you're a theist, if you are devoutly religious. I don't care if you're an atheist, where you believe there is no God, or if you're an agnostic, kind of like I am. What I care most about is, as a human being and, of course, as a teacher, is that you do some critical thinking and you spend some time kind of considering these deeper questions. And I think your philosophy about religion in general and in things that would pertain to this topic should kind of evolve throughout your life. Keep an open mind, be open to new evidence. And constantly be questioning your own beliefs. And if your beliefs don't stand up to scrutiny, well, maybe it's time for you to change your beliefs. Conversely, if your beliefs do stand up to your questioning and you're able to find meaning with your religion and make more sense of the world, or even through your like atheism or pursuing science, hey, that's good too. Then you should have a better basis for what you believe in, and it should make your beliefs even stronger. So either result, either way, I think is acceptable from my opinion. I just want to encourage as much critical thinking as possible. Now, a few things that I wanted to mention. Me as an atheist, or not atheist, agnostic, my apologies. I've something that I thought was kind of notable and I've heard discussed before. I actually was first brought to my attention back in college when I took a philosophy class, was a concept called Pascal's wager. Pascal was a philosopher from a couple hundred years ago, and essentially, like, kind of the question or the scenario that he posed was that, hey, maybe I'm an atheist, but let's say in this scenario, I'm an atheist, but that God really does exist and there really is an afterlife and a heaven or hell. Well, if that is true and I'm an atheist, well, now I'm going to hell. That's a losing situation for me. Let's say I am a religious person, though, and the opposite is true, and there is no God. Well, if I lived my life as a religious person and stayed to all the codes of conduct and tried to live up to like the teachings of Jesus or Muhammad, and then the opposite is true and there is no God, well, I'm really not out anything because, if that's true, then we're all just, when we die, that's the end of the show. So, kind of using that logic, he said it actually is more beneficial to kind of basically be a believer and be in on that camp, because what if maybe I think he was kind of actually an agnostic, but he said, I've got nothing to lose if I go in on this religion and practice the tenets of it and like worship God, because maybe he does exist, and if he does, I would rather kind of get some brownie points with the big guy and try to get into a more desirable location in the afterlife. Now, of course, I think a follow-up question to that is, well, if there really is an all-powerful God, I think he would probably be able to determine if your belief was insincere. So maybe that wouldn't get you in to begin with. But I always thought that was kind of an interesting scenario from like an agnostic perspective, that you have more to gain by acting as though there is a God and being a believer and staying in that religious camp than you would by being on the other side. Now, I think kind of a big question for me, and something that I've heard and spent a lot of time kind of discussing and listening to discussions on, is there a human need for like meaning and spirituality. I think that, I don't know that it matters how you get this in your life, but I strongly believe that everybody needs some meaning in their life. Now, you might get that in different ways, but I think that's something you need to think about as you are moving on through high school and getting out into the real world. That in some way, shape, or form, you want your life to have meaning. Now, I think if you're religious, if you're a devoutly Christian or Jewish or Muslim or even a Buddhist or Hindu, whatever the case may be, people can get meaning in their life and check that box that's really important to being a content, well-rounded, like happy person. You can do that through religion. But I don't think that that's the only way to get meaning in your life. But I think that's a big thing that like religion can be a benefit for that. So I guess kind of my take is, even though I am an agnostic person, um, some people I've heard that are agnostics or atheists, they are very critical of people that are believers or religious, and they look down on them and shun them. They're kind of intolerant. I've also seen in my life people that are devoutly religious really look down and be totally intolerant of other people that are atheists or with a different religious group. Me personally, I think like one of the only things I don't tolerate is intolerance. If that kind of makes sense. I'm a libertarian, which is a political term, but how it would apply to this, I kind of feel like everybody should make up their own mind, and you should have personal responsibility, and you should think critically. And honestly, I don't care what everybody else believes. I only start to get up about it and care if your beliefs, if you're trying to impose them on me and tell me how to believe. So I absolutely wouldn't want to do that to any of you. I try to go through my life and, if possible, encourage critical thinking and have good discussions to get deeper meaning. But I think you have to make up your own mind on all that. And I can definitely see, like, kind of going back to the first thing I was saying there, that religion can be a positive thing for a lot of people. So even if you are an agnostic like me, if you think your life will be better and you'll have more meaning and a better sense of community, and you'll get something, pretending there is a God or behaving as if there is, well, then I say kind of go for it. You know what I mean? If you feel like that's going to make you a better, more well rounded person, if you feel like there's a big guy upstairs who's watching out and kind of keeping score, or that loves you, and if that gives you meaning and purpose and makes you a better person, well, I don't see the downside to that. I think you should go for it and pursue that, even if you are deep down an agnostic like me. And I'll say from my own personal experience, I was raised as a Christian. I kind of, I guess, rebelled against that in my college years and became more of an atheist. And now I've kind of come back to more in that middle ground where it's like, man, I don't know what to believe. And I don't think you can really prove or disprove the existence of God. However, I will say, most of the people in my family that I love the most in this world are Christians, and they are believers, and they have that religious background. And you know what? I can see it being a positive thing in a lot of their lives. Even though I wouldn't say I wholeheartedly believe in Christianity, I often go to church and I try to get something out of it. And I don't mind being kind of a part of that tribe, maybe, or being in that community or group, because I think I do have some positive relationships there, and it adds some meaning to my life. I want my kids to grow up and make up their own mind about spirituality and religion. But I like to expose them to these old Bible stories. Kind of, I had you guys all retell a Western religious story. I think that's a net positive to know ancient stories like that and to get the morals out of them, because whether they are true or not, whether they actually happened and are literal truth, or if it's just kind of a maybe metaphorical truth and some wisdom locked in it, either way, I think you're a more well-rounded person, and you can take something out of that by learning those stories and by exploring it and diving deep into it. For my own kids, I want them to understand the religious world and understand different religions. I want them to understand what it would be to be an atheist and to consider those things. And then I really want them to make up their own minds on that and pursue whatever path they think will give them the best life. Let me think here. Yeah. So I think that sums up most of what I want to get out at you. And I don't want to go on and babble too much. If you ever want to have a discussion on this, or you want to recap with me, or need some clarification on any of this stuff, let me tell you, this is one of my favorite topics to discuss. I love talking philosophy and religion. So I appreciate you bearing with me through this unit, because remember, this is the first time I've ever done a world religion unit in class. So if it seemed kind of raw and wandering and maybe not like the most concise unit, well, that's because it is. I'm learning as I go too. And I think a couple years down the road, if I keep continuing to run this unit, it'll get refined and get a lot better. But I wanted to say to all you guys, I really genuinely appreciate all of you that watched my videos and participated in the assignments, and some of you that gave me some feedback. I like that a lot. I value it. And you're helping me to be a better teacher and instructor, and helping me to do critical thinking as well. So thanks for all of you that participated. And that's pretty much what I got for you. I hope you got something out of the world religion unit, and then we'll be on to some other topics starting next week. Take care.